Yeah, man. Greetings, Rastafari, Hail Emperor the King Selassie the First, the perfect balance Empress Menin. This is first man from Rastafari Indigenous Village, recognizing, accepting, promoting Lion Voice. Yes, the voice of Rastafari, speaking about Rastafari, educating Rastafari, preserving, protecting Rastafari. Give thanks.
Aye, Rastafari, mighty.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice. Rastafari.
Blessed love, this is Rashila representing for the Lion's Voice. Seeing? Yeah, man. Keep it locked right here, sir. On to Zion we go. Lion Voice don't move slow, no. Rastafari rules and reigns, and we're going where the blessings flow. Keep it locked right here, sir. Seeing? Rashila said that. Lion's Voice.
I'm Nana Farika. The time has come for the lioness to tell her story from her viewpoint and tell the world who Queen Omega is. This is the lion's voice.
Greetings, this is Junior Martin of Bob Martin and the Wailers. The time has come for the lion to tell his story. And we have here the lion voice. So listen in and get nourishment for the stomach and for the head cup. Jah,
Rastafari. Give thanks,
give thanks and praise every time.
Great honor, great honor.
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
It's AWTITUDE representing for Lion's Voice. Yes, massive. This is the time for I and I, the lion, them to tell I and I story, our story. Yes, and we reign and rule like this. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, I reign and rule. You can't take the lion vibes, people. If you no fool, cause we know Selassie reign and rule. Reign and rule. Selassie, I reign and rule. Queen Omega drop them in the fire, pull from them, no Queen Omega, she reign and rule. Royal Kushite, ancient essence, Emperor Selassie in a majestical presence, flash of all events, projecting through I and I events. We sing a song for the king, we bring joy and blessing and understanding, yeah. We hear Jah every day. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, reign and rule. Yes, I lion vibes, Selassie, reign and rule. Attitude say that. Boondocks, Black Organization of Noble Diplomats optimizing expressions to the world. Till the world, till the end.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
Yeah, Rastafari, Emperor Haile Selassie the First. Let me people go embrace many. Well, even if the stars they fall and the moon turn into blood, well, to the coming war we stand tall. I will shower you with my love. And even when the people start ball, cause they see the city streets them flood. But when the hurricane blow down their wall, I'll be by your side and me now but think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day. upside down. I will never hide, I'd rather stand my ground. Lion of Judah blessed with the triple crown. Can't come fool I with no circus clown. Now fear no hurricane or the cyclone. Respect for Mama Earth with that embedded on me bone. That's why I will never leave you alone. Protect you from harm when the alarm sound. So even when the stars they fall and the moon turn into blood, to the coming war we stand tall. I will shower you with my love. And even when the people start mal, when they see their city streets then flood, when the hurricane blow down our wall, I'll be by your side and me now budge. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your light was a lifeline. I think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your love was a lifeline. They say hurt people. Maybe that's why Babylon them so evil. Maybe Babylon abused as a child. Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka the DejazmatchKwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man, creative industry attorney. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Voice Live. Welcome to Lion Voice Live, special edition, and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where the lions are telling our own story. Tonight, the lioness will roar. I'm not even going to go through the whole long monologue tonight because we are live streaming our guest straight from Accra. And it's midnight. I have to be respectful so people answer my calls, family. I can't push them too hard, you know. Yes, people love I and I, but I have to respect their time. But before I bring forward the guests, let me just say one thing. I don't have a Bugatti, and I can't afford a Ferrari. But through the power, the divine power of the Almighty, I can pick up a phone and call cannabis attorney who happens to be I sister and also the international president of the Ethiopian World Federation, who I am a proud member of Local 12. And I can call my sister and say, Donald Trump just rescheduled cannabis, sign an executive order, and she can say, no, he expedited the process. It's not done yet. So we have a subject matter expert on the matter right now. So please, Lion Voice Network family, Lion Pride family, help I to welcome the great Scheril Murray Powell, Rastafari, blessing.
Greetings, Ras Tafari.
Greetings.
I know your ears have been burning this whole couple days. I've been in Accra.
Okay.
I'm in motherland. I'm home again.
Yes, I see the glow. I see the glow.
But we've been talking about you. I was with Ras Aswad earlier today. Yes. I got to visit the Hemp Association of Ghana's headquarters and office. Yes. So I'll share some photos of that with you.
Beautiful.
And it's been a great trip, but you are spoken about with so much love and admiration and spoken about often. So we want to support all the things you're doing. And again, I've had media interviews since I've been here, and we're emphasizing how important it is for us to have our own media.
Yes.
So You know, I know you don't have a Bugatti right now, but we need to make sure that we support you because you're supporting our community with this type of education. So, of course, I'm always going to answer your call. Of course, we're working together hand in hand for the forward movement of Rastafari. And this is what we're here for. You know, there are a lot of people who sacrificed in my family over generations for me to have the privilege of going to law school and, you know, being a practicing lawyer for my community. And the same applies for you. You're standing on the shoulders of giants. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. So we have a responsibility to bring the education to our people.
And I think it's so critical. And also not just general education, you're a subject matter expert, I would call you, in terms of cannabis policy, you know, and just the evolution of how the U.S. government in particular has treated the plant that we have identified as our hola herb, our hola sacrament. So I want to start off by just give us an idea of the law prior to the signing of this executive order, and then we'll get into what is an executive order, and then we'll get into you know, are there any substantive changes? So let's walk everyone through this process.
Absolutely. What does this mean for us as you know, Rastafari people, as industry players? So I'll just take us back a little bit, but you know, when we look at the cannabis plant, it's separated by law in the United States and in other countries, even though the measurements are different around the world, separated into a classification of mostly marijuana or hemp. And it's the same plant, but there's like an arbitrary definition which distinguishes the two things. Traditionally, with the Farm Bill of 2014 and the Farm Bill of 2018, this definition turns on, you know, the amount of THC, Delta 9 THC that's in the plant. So basically, if it's less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC, then it would have been considered a hemp plant, and that also turns on the sourcing. So being sourced through a state's agricultural program. So meaning some type of, you know, permit through a state's agricultural program. Through that process, if it's sourced that way, if it's under the 0.3% Delta 9 THC, then it would be defined as hemp at a federal level. What the Farm Bill of 2018 did differently from 2014 is it actually descheduled hemp. Okay, so it made it not on the scheduled list of controlled substances. Well, another thing that the Farm Bill of 2018 did is it opted to not preempt the states. What this allowed for is for states to have even more restrictive laws with regards to the treatment of the hemp plant and more restrictive requirements. And as we saw this influx of intoxicating hemp products, because, you know, back in the day of the 2014, even around 2018, it wasn't known by most people that you can actually have hemp as an intoxicating product. So because it wasn't something that was anticipated by the legislators, they didn't treat it as something that was intoxicating. But as more information became revealed, more products came to market, it was clear that these intoxicating hemp products are being sold over the counter. There are some concerns about access to children for intoxicating hemp products, but it didn't stop industry from speeding in that direction. Some states opted to create more restrictive definitions of hemp, which would include, you know, a total THC number. So instead of just looking at the Delta 9 THC, since we have THCA, which once that's incinerated, it also has intoxicating effects and things like that. or the ability to, by using some type of solvent, having delta 8 THC, right? So that's was looked at as some type of loophole by having delta 8 THC, because the federal definition was so narrow and narrowly focused on delta 9 THC. Okay, so people were making delta 8 THC products that exceeded to 0.3%. And because the federal law was very specific to delta 9 THC, they were allowed to get away with having these intoxicating products in the market. And, there was, again, the concern about access to children. And there's also the concern about the synthetic nature. And this is often debated in our industry, the synthetic nature of delta 8, which is available all over as a result of what is being called a loophole. Beyond the Farm Bill of 2018, President Joe Biden in 2021 asked, very similarly to this executive order, but he requested for the HHS, Health and Human Services Department, to do an investigation of the benefits of medicinal marijuana. And they worked on a report which was released in 2023 with a strong recommendation that that we reschedule from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. This isn't the first effort to reschedule. There are rescheduling efforts going back to the 1970s and lawsuits related to it going back to the 1970s. But, this was a presidential request confirmed and fortified by the Health Department, Health and Human Services Department, saying, yes, this plant has medicinal properties. Not only does this plant have medicinal properties, but we're recommending a 2-tier test instead of the traditional 8-factor test to determine its eligibility for rescheduling. And this two-pronged test turns on two things. The first thing that it turns on is, one, the physicians, the medical practitioners. We have 30,000 at that time, 30,000 incidents that we can evaluate of medical marijuana being utilized and endorsement by physicians for it to be used for medical purposes. So based on that data that's been collected across the legal states, the medically legal states, we have evidence to determine that it does have medical benefits. So the first prong of the test has to do with looking at the recommendations from our medical professionals who've been engaged in this state-by-state approach to legalization from a medical perspective. The second prong of the test has to do with the scientific research. There's significant scientific research that's available. You can go on PubMed and search for articles with regards to research that's being done internationally with regards to this this cannabis plant. Yeah. So that was an important part of the Health and Human Services recommendation. From there, this recommendation went to the Department of Justice, right, for evaluation. They asked for feedback in the form of public comments. They received a plethora of public comments requests to be a part of a hearing to evaluate it. At the end of the day, once they were determining which groups, organizations, individuals would represent the population in these hearings, there were, I believe, 26, we call them designated participants that were identified. One of those designated participants is my client, my friends at Veterans Initiative 22.
Okay.
So they put in a request to be a part of these DEA hearings. The DEA hearings commenced tail end of last year. So in the December region of last year, I think maybe our first hearing was December 3rd, December 6th. And Veterans Initiative 22 asked me to represent them for these DEA hearings.
Okay.
So that's basically how I got involved with representing a designated participant. Again, they had a plethora of requests. They only picked about 26 designated participants, and it was sitting with the DEA. We had a very friendly judge. I would say friendly just because he indicated after I gave my initial opening statement for these hearings that he was sympathetic to our cause.
Okay.
And we believe that he was sympathetic to our cause because he also was a veteran.
Okay.
So being able to represent a veteran organization and have a judge who had a veteran history and understood how cannabis has helped veterans, we were really positioned strongly to have a fair hearing at that time. Then we had the changing of the guard with the administrations, and some of the designated participants had a side case happening, and they filed a motion to reconsider, which basically stalled the process and stopped the hearings in the beginning of this year. And that's where we are right now, almost a year later, a year later, where nothing has happened with the hearings. I haven't been back to DC for the hearings because there's this motion for reconsideration, which had to wait for the new administration to get into place and for all the filings with regards to what's being requested with this motion for reconsideration. So that DEA hearing is stalled. It's an honor to serve and be, again, the only Black woman attorney to be representing a client in those hearings or have ever represented a client in
historic
hearings.
Very, very historic.
Yeah.
I wanna first congratulate you on that advocacy work for veterans. I know it helps with the PTSD, the nightmares and a lot of the trauma or the wounds, mental wounds that veterans have are medicated to the herb. Explain to our viewers, what is the schedule? When we talk about the scheduling of marijuana in the U.S. context, because we have a big international audience, when they say scheduling ganja, what are they talking about?
Yeah, so in the Controlled Substance Act, they have categories of intoxicants of a controlled substance. So Schedule 1 is the most restrictive, and it is for something to be Schedule 1, it has to have no evidence of medicinal benefit, and it also has to show that it's highly addictive. And that's where you're going to find some of your like a heroin and things like that. It is long believed that cannabis never deserved to be there because there's been evidence of the medical benefits for centuries, going into antiquity with indigenous peoples, but even specific to Ras Tafari, there's strong evidence anecdotally and with studies such as the Dr. Melanie Dreher study with Ras Tafari women, which Dr. Melanie Dreher is a friend of mine, and we have
explain that groundbreaking study, because a lot of Rastafari people probably don't even know that a study like that took place. So break down the study. Family, we're going deep. We're going deep tonight. We have a subject matter expert. Get your ital snacks. Get prepared. As long as she can stay awake, it's up past midnight in Ghana. So you know what I mean. We're not gonna keep her too long. But but explain that study, please.
Yeah, it's such an interesting, fascinating study. And I took a couple naps while I was being driven today. Okay. So I feel pretty good about being on at this hour. But yes, Dr. Melanie Dreher is a phenomenal nurse and expert. She started out during the 80s and the 90s doing research in Jamaica. I think that study is in the 90s. And I actually got to interview her. So we sit on the board of Patients Out of Time together. So Patients Out of Time is the oldest cannabis advocacy organization that gave CMEs for cannabis education in the world, founded by a nurse, Mary Lynn Mathry. So she's a good friend of mine as well. When I got to interview her for our Road to 30 series, and I got to get a real deep dive in what she did with this study. So when she first went down to Jamaica, she was working with actual Rastafari men. And it wasn't until later that she started talking to the Rastafari women about their cannabis use. And the study ended up studying pregnant Rastafari women, and they were monitored throughout their pregnancy, but also the babies were monitored. So when the babies were actually born, there was, day one, they kind of throw away that data. But I think by day 3, that's when they started taking the data that they would use. And there was no distinction at that time between the babies that were carried by women who use cannabis while they were pregnant and the women that did not use cannabis while they're pregnant. And for those of you who are like, why would women use cannabis while pregnant? A lot of women use cannabis while pregnant, one for nausea-related issues, and then other health-related issues where they maybe they were diagnosed with something that cannabis has been shown to be a benefit for. It is not globally acceptable behavior, but this study definitely is the root of future studies that have been done. It's been cited not only in medical, the medical community, but it's like one of the most cited studies by lay people. So, if there's a study, you can always see the citations of the study. And this study is very popular, not just with medical practitioners, but actual lay people. And by day 30, these children that were born to Rastafari women showed significant improved cognitive ability over the children that were born to to women who were not cannabis users. So this was definitely a point of change with regards to how cannabis in pregnancy was evaluated and the use of cannabis with regards to its level of harm. So this is, for all the women who participated in the study, you really made history. And we are in a process of recreating the study in legal markets. So not just in Jamaica, we're approaching it from a few perspectives, and they're at the point of looking for funding. So I say we because the EWF is a partner in the revised study. The study will include focus groups of Rastafari women who have used cannabis during pregnancy around the world, as well as in adult use markets, engaging with women who have in the past or are currently using cannabis during their pregnancies. Some of the challenges that we have with regards to this is the fact that some of the laws in states in the United States are still draconian laws. We still have mothers who, if they give birth and they test positive for cannabis, they risk having their kids taken away from them, or they will have their kids taken away from them. So we're combating those things in modern society. And that's why some of our, potential subjects for the study are hesitant to come forward and admit their use. But I know even friends who have used cannadulas or doulas that understand that they do use cannabis as a part of their birthing process. And they've been intentional about seeking out doulas that have that understanding of the fact that they use cannabis and they've used it throughout their pregnancy. And the evidence based on this study and subsequent studies shows that there is no harm done to the fetus with that type of use, but it is a controversial perspective. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that study. But the process for, as we were preparing when we thought this hearing would happen, and my designated participant, Veterans Initiative 22, is represented by its executive director, Shanitha Lewis. And Shanitha Lewis is the only person of color who is a designated participant. She's the only veteran who's a designated participant. And when we developed our legal strategy, what was really important, even though the two-tier or two-prong approach was really important to what the judge was expecting, because you can't, go all in on making social points without addressing the issue at hand. And the issue at hand is proving that Schedule 1 is not appropriate for the cannabis plant and its derivatives. That's really what we were there to do. There's the concept of the two-prong test, and also what we call CAMU. It's called CAMU's commonly accepted medical uses. So making sure that we understand what's accepted. So CAMU ties to that first prong of, what physicians are saying after these years. Keep in mind, the California medical industry is like 20 years old. So we have like 20 years of history in the United States using cannabis legally for medicinal practices. So, CAMU is something that is at the heart of what we were supposed to demonstrate, these commonly accepted medical uses of the cannabis plant. So that was our job. But beyond that, we felt as, members of diverse community, minority community, understanding that the unsaid part of this is the harm that's been done to specifically Black community. We wanted to highlight the intersectionality aspect of the veteran community, which led to wrongly incarcerated individuals. And we made that a part of our presentation for my opening statements. And we talked about the intersectionality, and the judge in his response said, there's a job to be done here, which is really about CAMU, but he is sympathetic to our cause, which really encouraged us, because we knew that we didn't have to stress the point with regard to the minority arrests and things like that, to the point that we didn't accomplish what was the task at hand, which was proving the CAMU and also pulling the scientific data. My designated participant, Shanitha, she is also a graduate of the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy's cannabis program. So that gives, and she's a professor now at the school as well. So we had she's like the perfect designated. She's in
All right, Wi-Fi, the guy is trying to take the star of the show. She is broadcasting direct from Accra.
The fact that she's a veteran is really important, and then also she has this scientific knowledge because she graduated from the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy program. So all those things work to our advantage. We were running towards the opportunity to make our presentation and actually, have cross-examination of those naysayers who put out information that's not necessarily based in fact. As we prepared as a team for our arguments as well as cross-examination, we worked together to bring on other litigation-based attorneys because I'm not a litigator, and we found a good sweet spot with people who could help us with the cross-examination specifically. And then she was fantastic about identifying the studies. She, on the board of Veterans Initiative 22, there's a nurse, a practitioner, Renee Ressinger. So Renee gave us an affidavit with studies that she preferred. It included Dr. Melanie Jer's study as well. So we had the benefit of one of the board members of Veterans Initiative 22 being a nurse and pointing us to studies. We also had other affiants, that we leaned on other physicians.
Stick up in, explain what an affidavit is for our global audience who are not, because we go into the legalese sometimes, it can be intimidating, but explain what an affidavit is.
Yeah, thank you for stopping me there. So an affidavit is a sworn document of your experience and knowledge, and it can have citations and references to studies. And that was really helpful for us. So what we did with our affidavits is we included, let's say it was a physician like Dr. Rosado out of Florida. He was one of our affiants as well. So a person who does an affidavit is an affiant. And an affidavit usually starts out with, I am, this is my name, this is my age, this is my experience, this is my title, and things like that. And it's a sworn testimony that is actually signed. And with Dr. Rosado, he did a great job of talking about some of his patients. One issue in particular that was important to Shanitha as a veteran and as a woman to bring forward is the military-based sexual assaults. So Dr. Rosado actually had a case that I met the individual when I first started in the legal cannabis industry and interviewed him in 2016. I also interviewed a young lady who was a military veteran who had been she was sexually assaulted in the military. And he could, in his affidavit, he referenced that particular case and how cannabis allowed her to deal with that harm. So we're talking about post-traumatic stress disorder as the actual indication that cannabis as a treatment was used for.
All right.
Because she wouldn't leave the house. She wouldn't work. This is someone that I met in 2016. And before cannabis, she wouldn't leave her house. She wouldn't work. She was clinically depressed. She had PTSD. And once cannabis was used as part of her treatment, now she has a partner, a romantic partner, and she actually has built a business for herself because she's had access to the cannabis plant. So we kind of weave these examples in the tapestry of our narrative as we're going about the ultimate objective of proving CAMU, that there is a commonly acceptable medical use for cannabis. And we have, again, a physician. We had a couple physicians as affiants. We had our nurse Renee as an affiant. We were limited as far as how many affidavits we could include, but I think we chose wisely. And then we also had the American Legion do an affidavit. And in the American Legion's affidavit from Eric, who's also the founder of Veterans Initiative 22, but in his role in the Navy, he was actually an officer who would identify and penalize officers who were caught using cannabis. So he could demonstrate the legal process and the harm that was done to individuals who may have lost their good standing with the military, lost their job positions with the military because of their cannabis use. Tolerance policy. The Navy had a zero tolerance policy with regards to cannabis use. So, those are the types of things we were able to put into our affidavits to back up also the scientific research that we got. With Shanitha's background, she's been studying cannabis scientific research for so long. So we had a very high bar with regards to credibility of studies, because she used her professional education from the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy program in making her determination on which studies we would include and and we worked on this together. For months, we've met every morning at 9 a.m. going through whether it's the affidavits and being prepared for it, whether it's the other designated participants, especially the ones on the other side of the table, how we would approach cross-examination for them, and also cannabis and to demonstrate how cannabis is distinct from the other medicines, or not medicines, the other controlled substance that were Schedule I and rightfully deserve to be going to Schedule 3. Now, when the HHS recommendation, they indicated that it didn't have the addiction, it didn't raise to the level of addiction required for Schedule I. It had a mild addictive tendency. And again, when you look at sugar, when you look at coffee, they're more addictive than cannabis is. So this is what we kind of uncovered with these studies. This is the argument that we were, going about proving, but we never got our chance in the hearing. And then that judge has since retired. So we had I'll say, quote unquote, friendly judge or empathetic judge to the cause, or at least he was open-minded with regards to the research. And then we lost that opportunity because he retired. And now we're just waiting for the next steps from the DEA administrator as far as how we would proceed. Now, moving forward to, the letter, the executive order from President Trump, in the executive order, it's asking for the Attorney General to move this evaluation forward. So
key point.
So executive. It is really a strong foundation that we move this forward. What I do like about the executive order is he references seniors and how the senior community is one of the most prevalent users of cannabis, or fastest growing demographic using the cannabis plant, which is true, and it validates all of the patients that have been saying, and Rastafari that's been saying their medical uses, and says, all right, we're at a point where all these people are saying that this has medical use. They're signing up for these cards across the country. Physicians are treating them using this medicine. It's time for us to take a look at it and expedite it. And so that's what it's really asking for, is for us to expedite this review, complete the process, which we had initiated with these hearings a year ago, so that we can, through research, because there is a strong emphasis in the language of the executive order for us to be able to do research. So I think it will help. There's congressional legislation also that's passed about cannabis research, very pro-research, whether it's for military veterans or just in general, which have been very positive. But this also, references research and is very positive. What happened with the appropriations bill, I guess about a month ago, I'm thinking the date that's sticking on my mind is November 28th, but it could have been before that. But when we were waiting for everybody to get their SNAP benefits and waiting for the appropriations bill to pass, what happened in the tail end of that is they snuck in a provision about cannabis and about hemp specifically. So what it did is it restricted hemp and changed the definition of legal hemp to less than 0.4 milligrams per container. So if you have 1 gallon container, you have to have less than 0.4 milligrams. So that was, what the industry has been saying is that eliminates about 95% of the hemp products. And that's what happened with that appropriations bill. This executive order, it's being positioned as handing a lifeline to the hemp industry that was about to lose about 95% of its products, which makes it less profitable. And the hemp industry sits outside of the.
Okay, Wi-Fi the guy. We're getting some high-level reasoning, family. Tune in. Just a little glitch. Take it from there. You were talking about the rescheduling. Go ahead.
Yeah, the appropriations bill, by stinking in the hemp provisions, eliminated about 95% of the hemp products. And then this executive order is being seen as handing a little bit of a lifeline, because that doesn't go into effect until a year later. So in this year, it's going to be very interesting what the government does. The executive order indicates that the President Trump, the executive branch, is going to work with Congress also with regards to helping to move these things along. So it's definitely a pro-cannabis executive order. Both candidates in the last presidential election ran on a pro-cannabis a narrative. Both Kamala as well as Trump ran really positive towards cannabis. We've been waiting for in the right direction with regards to cannabis legalization and proceeding with these hearings, proceeding with the rescheduling process. So Schedule 1 is like your most heinous drugs, basically, are in Schedule 1. Schedule 3, it shows, again, remember those two factors, definitely considered to be less addictive and definitely considered to have proven medicinal value. And that's what we need to show.
As you say. How does the rescheduling affect banking? I know banking has been a major issue for the industry. How does rescheduling, or does it impact banking?
It will help with the banking issues. Once it's rescheduled, then it'll allow for banking. And when we talk about cannabis banking, it's banking as depositories. It's banking from a perspective of payment processing, because we still have some challenges with payment processing. A lot of the processing that's done is done in either a closed loop system, where it's like having like a rush card kind of thing. Even at the dispensary, when your transactions are for higher than the amount, and then you get the change in cash. So it's some type of closed loop system, or it's going out of the country for processing. Even on the hemp side, even though hemp is descheduled now, I think Citizens Bank is a good bank that does a lot of hemp business and is very much a part of our industry. But yes, we do struggle on the banking side of things. This will be a remedy with the descheduling, will allow us to facilitate our industry with the banking. So I said, as a depository from a processing standpoint, and the third is for a lending perspective. We have definitely been harmed as an industry because of the lack of traditional lending. As minority participants, banking has never been super friendly towards us. It's never been equal access to banking or lending for Black and brown community. So this should be positive, the rescheduling. I do want to go on record and say that I am a descheduling advocate, even though I am one of the lawyers on the rescheduling hearings promoting rescheduling. What I ultimately want is descheduling. And I see this as a bite of the apple.
Explain the difference.
Get towards descheduling, where it's completely not on a schedule whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to explain the difference between reschedule and deschedule.
Yeah.
And
so produce is not scheduled. Some of our, our nutraceuticals and things like a moringa and things like that, they're not scheduled products. And, that's where we think cannabis should really be, is descheduled. And the reason why that's important is when we look at, the criminal justice system and the harm that's been done to our community, when you reschedule, it still says that in only certain situations, you're allowed to possess or distribute this medicine. And that designation for cannabis, which is indigenous medicine, has proven to be extremely harmful for us. So even as we've seen legalization, we've also seen an increase in enforcement. Because once you create the legal infrastructure, even in adult use markets that have social equity programs and they're prioritizing, communities that have been harmed by the prohibition and over-policing of cannabis, we still see once the legalization goes in, once they give that priority, once they're giving out licenses, even licensees who used to hustle are saying, why is that smoke shop able to do what we're supposed to do? And then there's this second wave of enforcement that happens.
Okay.
If you deschedule, then you don't necessarily have that enforcement. It's more equal access. It'll most likely lower the barriers to entry as far as costs for applications, costs for licensing, or maybe they'll even be lowered to like a permit of some sort. Based on the scheduling. So, Schedule 3 is okay. It's better than Schedule 2, and it's better than Schedule 1. But what we really ultimately want is descheduling of cannabis, reasonable access to something that has not caused any fatalities in the history of man. And we think that's very appropriate.
And we have to go into some unfortunate news now, because I want you to explain to the global family what percentage of the legal market is owned by Rastafari people.
Oh, it's nominal. If I say 0.5%, that may be an exaggeration, and that's looking at the global industry, especially in the United States. Yes. We may have some Rastaman in like California that are engaged, but how many of them are the actual owners for their businesses, and how much of their partnerships do they actually own? That's unknown, but it is nominal, and that's really why I do this work, is to make sure that we have that fair representation. In New York, I have a license. I know one or two other Rasta people with licenses. And then there's a couple who are like, I'm a ballhead Rasta, that may have a license too, but actively involved in our livity. I know of one other besides myself who has a license in the New York market. Don't know any in New Jersey at this point. So that's what it looks like. And those are liberal states that I'm talking about. Yeah. But I think in California, because it's been a legal market for a longer period of time, it's a saturated market too, so, the profitability there isn't what it used to be. Yes. I think that's where we probably have the most representation from Rastafari would be in California. Besides looking at like the Jamaican market, the Antigua market, St. Vincent and the Grenadines did a push. It's not written into the legislation, but they did make a push where you have Ras Spirit involved and things like that.
And these conversations are important because ganja is on its path to becoming a worldwide commodity,
Yes.
openly traded across the open seas and shipped. So we're moving inexorably in that direction, and the prisons are littered with Rastafari brethren and sistren who, for no other reason than, the whole of sacrament, they were chatting, maybe the brethren had a pound, 2 pound, a move through. And we have our indigenous distribution system. And a lot of brethren have been caught up, living the livity. And,
Yes.
ones like Queen Mother Moses, ones like Iras, who have been in the prison system,
Yeah.
Ras Negos, Kamal, Atu, who was also in the prison system. They have been dealing with the Rastafari presence in the prison. So this is a topic that's very close to I and I, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, the legality, because there's no other way that we run afoul of the authorities. That is the nexus, is the whole of herb. What have you seen?
I like to say otherwise, what I consider them to be, along with other legacy operators, are otherwise law-abiding citizens.
Yes.
Aside from our using cannabis as our liberty, which is our right under cultural protections, it's just not recognized by rule makers. We are otherwise law-abiding citizens.
Mm-hmm. And assets to any community that we're in, because we're the peacemaker.
Yes,
we're productive people, and because of this we're persecuted.
Right.
So in terms of timeline, what are we looking at in terms of a realistic timeline in your estimation now that this executive order is signed? What does the process look like?
I still think it's going to be 3 years before we get to the point that we see any real change. These things take time. Government review takes time. Now, we already started a hearing process, so they could continue the hearing process, and then it would be, it could be like a year, and then for the formal rules after that, it could take another few years, and then public comment. So yeah, I think we're still 3 to 5 years out from like actually experiencing Schedule 3. But I think the banking part of things will probably be one of the fastest moving because it's motivated by money.
Yes.
And also another thing that I want to highlight is IRS Rule 280E. So it's not just the banking part, but it's also the filing of taxes and your ability to claim expenses. IRS Rule 280E restricts businesses who are involved in illicit activity from claiming their expenses. And cannabis, even though we have had legalization for 20 years in this country, the companies in the cannabis industry are still paying more taxes than any other businesses because they're not able to claim their expenses.
Yes.
So with this rescheduling, we would also see a benefit with regards to 280E. But again, as I always like to say, any benefit that we're going to get from rescheduling, we would also get from descheduling. So yes, we're supporting this as a phase of rescheduling, but our ultimate goal is descheduling, decriminalization, letting people out of incarceration situations where they've been separated from their families, restoring families that have been impacted by deportation and these immigration policies. That's the work ahead once we move towards rescheduling or descheduling.
Okay. Peter Tosh said legalize it, and we're still on that struggle.
Shout out to Nyambi Tosh, Nyambi McIntosh.
Yes, for
holding it down for the Tosh family.
The ultimate liberation. It's so important. This is very important because we see the splashy headlines. It makes it look like the rescheduling has already taken place, and This is why Rastafari independent non-aligned media is so important, because we want our audience to be educated, informed. So when you go out there and you're reasoning, now you can talk with some authority to let them know that this is still a process, and it's going to take some time. This was also well timed as a distraction from what's happening in the Caribbean basin, with the taking over of ships in the Caribbean, and I'm praying for my brethren and sister in Trinidad right now, because it's not looking pretty down that side. So we have to keep our wits about us, and we have to understand that the road is still a long road to full legalization, to descheduling, and all of these things in the United States of America. What lessons or what would you like to see in terms of the Rastafari Pan-African community, which is the bulk of our audience? How would you like to see them engaging on this issue, as someone who has put in years and years advocating for this plan?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think as Rastafari, we need to have a lobby. The Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, I'm the international president. In our constitutional bylaws, it says we don't get politically involved, but it does say except for adverse situations. And I think this is an adverse situation that's continued over decades, impacting the Black people of the world, where we should get involved. We should be fundraising so that we can advocate and have a lobby arm of whether it's the EWF or the Rastafari mansions and organizations, so that we can make our presence known up here at the capitals of where we're currently living until we repatriate. For those who are interested in repatriating, we really have to be active where this is concerned, because we're not even consideration. So as these rules are being developed, I plan to be very much involved. I'll definitely could use the support and financial support, so I can be in DC for these hearings if they recommence. So I can be in DC talking to congressional leaders along with other Rastafari. We should have a lobby day, just explaining to them, especially from an immigration perspective, from a mass incarceration perspective, from a separation of families perspective, how we've been impacted. But it's going to take funding to make that happen. So that's one way we can get involved. But for those who are not able to do that, just know that in every congressional leader has district offices. So in your neighborhood, find out who your congressional people are, if you are based in the United States, or if you're based somewhere else, a parliamentarian, and go visit their local office, which should be close to you, and express these things that, these cannabis laws have impacted our community in a disparate way. Our culturally protected and religious-based rights have been violated consistently for many decades, and there has been no repair with regards to it. We have had our families separated due to immigration policies, and that has led to devastating impacts to children, including emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, because their parents, one or more parents, have not been present with them as caretakers. There's definitely reparations need with regards to the children of parents who have been wrongly incarcerated or wrongly deported due to the cannabis plant. And I think we need to have a real conversation about that in Rastafari. And the fact that we've been denied this opportunity to build an independent economy for Rastafari, which ties into our holy sacrament, is also something that has done a disservice to our community. If our, Catholic brethren and sisters and Christian brethren and sisters can take their holy host, take their holy sacrament, there's no reason why we can't do the same thing, or we shouldn't be able to do the same thing. And those are things that are purchased Either they are produced by the church themselves or they are purchased. I often say you can go to a Christian bookstore and buy a box of the Holy Sacrament, a communion box with the host and the wine ready to be served. So, we're not the first ones to say there needs to be a way of commercializing our Holy Sacrament. We see it every day in every city in the United States by going to 4 churches.
All right. This is a serious topic.
Yeah. So with that said, we need to, we need to mobilize as a Rastafari community and start taking this very seriously. There's enough complaining. We're beyond the complaining phase. We really need to pay attention to these laws, look for reparatory justice, and make sure that we get the rights that we deserve as livity observing, Holy Sacrament observing Rastafari.
Serious thing. I love how you put a fire on the complaining, because working time now. It's time to us to roll up our sleeves and to go to work. And I want everyone to take note that the reasoning also comes forward to the financing and lobbying, advocacy. These things take my 2 favorite words on this platform, staff and budget. It takes funding, you know what I mean? And these things have to be self-funded. So, I know I sound like a broken record here, but it's because I'm very aware. I went to law school as a young Ras with the intention of practicing solely for the Rastafari community. I was naive, because I thought that coming out of law school, I would be able to give my full time to Rastafari, and we quickly find out that the money is not there, and when you have a family, you have to, do other things. But if we come together, things are a lot different than when I graduated. We have a plethora of Rastafari attorneys, of academics, of thought leaders who could be assembled to really start to make an impact on some of these issues that confront our people. You know what I mean? And the only way we get there is through collective security. I've said my vision on here plethora of times, 58,000 subscribers now, each person giving $10. We have $500,000 every strong that we gather. You know what I mean? So, the it's not a matter of can we do it, it's a matter of will we do it? Will we change our mindset, around waiting? And this is one of the vestiges of colonialism, where we're waiting for the sky god. We're waiting for that savior to come down and to swoop down and to save us from our peril. And we're going to complain, as Sister Scheril said, until that savior comes. We're just going to wait, and we'll criticize if somebody tries to move before that savior comes. Then we're going to tear them down as much as possible.
Right.
Those days, we gotta, that's programming, that's programming against our own interests. We are the salvation that we are waiting for, and we have to pool our resources, and we have to fund our liberation. Nobody else is gonna fund it. I was saying the other day, Sister Scheril, that a lot of us feel that we're gonna write a nice letter with the right words, and the UN or somebody is going to have an epiphany and allocate, billions of dollars to come and save us and repatriate us. And that's not how the world works. Unfortunately, it's power. People respect leverage, power, economics. What are we bringing to the table? How can we influence these politicians, these policy makers? That's how the world works, and His Majesty overstood this,
Yes.
Marcus Garvey overstood this, some of our great leaders overstood this, but I think we've lost, we've become very theoretical and idealistic. That's why we love to chat, you know what I mean, for hours and hours. So I'm coming off my soapbox. Are there any?
Before you do, I'd love for you to talk about our coalition of Rastafari attorneys, because we have, coordinated efforts with the RMO and other efforts to move the needle on this particular issue. We had a really good call a couple months ago, so I'd love for you to share some of that with our viewers.
And we need to really move forward. First of all, we do have an association of Rastafarian attorneys, a non-profit, the Haile Selassie Foundation of Law and Society. We have not been as active. We were active in the 2010s and in those early days of the Millennium Council and some of the other collective initiatives providing advice. We are still advising the RMO, myself and Ras Marcus Goff, the Rastafari Mansions and organization. But one of the things, that the sister is referring to is, we had a meeting in terms of coming together and looking at some of these matters as they impact us and what kind of legal strategy or other means can be employed to move us forward. And this is an ongoing work that has to be, again, if we're serious about it, it has to be funded. We can do volunteer work, and we have been doing volunteer work. Let's be clear. All of us have decades of volunteer work under our belts, but for the type of, as Sister Scheril said, the travel, research, the appearances, the drafting of briefs and all of these things, it really requires a serious approach in terms of the funding. And we can do it as a community. I'm confident. I'm still confident that we're going to do it. The EWF is rising. I'm a witness to see how EWF is rising under the leadership of Madam President, the President, who is here. So I'm very optimistic in terms of what can be done when we mobilize the Black peoples of the world, because this is bigger than Rastafari too. And we really need our Black peoples of the world to come together to pool their resources, and be able to stand up some of these institutions and these works. So you will be hearing more about the Coalition of Rastafari Attorneys, working through the Haile Selassie Foundation for Law and Society. Big up Ras Kasati in Dominica, another Rastafari attorney who's waiting patiently for the trumpet to sound. And there are some other younger attorneys. I know there are a couple in the UK as well. There are a few in South Africa, Southern Africa. So we really, we're going to sound the trumpet in this new Roman calendar year, so that we can meet. Because that was really, I think, what came out of that meeting, that the attorneys needed to meet separately.
Right.
And, just kind of get our strategy, some timelines, and figure out, what are the priorities and how we can best work together and mobilize. So that's going to happen. And everything is aligning, before we seal up, this was so educational. Just explain to the global family, why are you in Ghana right now? This is a true international
I'm in Ghana for the Diaspora Summit. So it was on Friday and Saturday of this week. We had tremendous speakers. It was called by President Mahama. In addition to that, he had a meeting with the AU and leaders, reparations leaders from around the world. He met with them on the 19th as well. In addition to the Diaspora Summit, I attended for both days. In addition, there was ICAD had their conference as well. I was a speaker at the ICAD conference.
What's ICAD?
Oh, I have to look it up. I'm sorry. I have to get Ras Aswad, but I will make sure before we put this out in final that I'll know exactly what it stands for. But I was given a prize, a presentation, a plaque, an award at the ICAD conference after I spoke. There was a lot of theologians there, different priests from all over, really about, and the topic is, the African diaspora and the role the African diaspora has in the future of Ghana. So that was happening simultaneously with the Diaspora Summit. So I went back and forth to the events, and it was a great turnout.
I got it. It's the International Conference on African Development.
That is it. The International Conference on African Development. Yes. So not only did I have the honor of speaking and representing the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated at that conference, but I received an award recognizing the work that I had done. I was able to provide greetings at the ICAD conference on behalf of His Imperial Highness Prince Ermias, leader of the Crown Council.
Bust that new seal there upon Lion Voice. Bust that seal there upon Lion Voice. You have a new role that has been added to your many, many, many hats. Explain to the people, your new role. In addition,
first of all, it's a significant honor. And when we look at His Imperial Majesty's vision and how he had alignment between the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and the crown and the monarchy, as well as his gift to the Black people of the world, the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, he always had the diaspora in mind. So when His Imperial Highness Prince Ermias asked me to be the special representative for the Crown Council with regards to the African diaspora, I had to say yes, and it lines up perfectly with my duties as the international president of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. So this is just more collaboration, more joining of resources and efforts so we can get the message out to as many of the Black people of the world with regards to this vision that His Imperial Majesty had for us to be progressive, to do trade with Africa, to repatriate to Africa. So it's, to be chosen for this role is a source of pride for me. I've been able to give greetings at ICAD on behalf of His Imperial Highness Prince Ermias and the Crown Council. I was also recognized at the Diaspora Summit. If you watch the day 2 video, you can find it on YouTube. When it's 6 hours and 53 minutes in, I was also recognized and able to express, and I'd given them the greetings and congratulations on behalf of His Imperial Highness Prince Ermias and the Crown Council for a very successful Diaspora Summit, which was called by President Mahama. So the Crown Council is in support of these efforts to unify our community, to be progressive, to forward our overall Black people of the world community. And I'm very pleased to deliver that message. And it's a very significant privilege. I had a podcast with EWFI, which is Local 30's radio station, and I was able to give readings on there. And, again, the Lion Voice Network is so important and significant to our owning the truth and owning our own stories and mobilizing our community, that I felt it necessary to also bring greetings to the viewership of the Lion Voice Network from His Imperial Highness Prince Ermias, who is the grandson of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I. So from generation to generation, we work hand in hand for the Black people of the world.
Give thanks, and we want to send condolences to Prince Ermias on the loss of his first wife, who has transitioned to the ancestral realm. Yes, we want to send condolences. As ones know, Prince Ermias did one of the forewords for my book, So, you know, I've known him for a long time, and he's always been very gracious to I. You know what I mean? So I always have to show that great love and respect for Prince Ermias. We've had Nebiu, Lich Nebiu here, who was the PR at one time for the Crown Council, working closely with them as well. So we are always in support of the Crown Council, which was a constitutional body established in the Constitution under His Majesty as the centralization as the head. You know, in the absence of the emperor, it's the Crown Council that's responsible for the maintenance of the unity of Ethiopia. And, you know, they have shifted their operation to a cultural, more cultural rather than political. But we support them, you know, 1,000% in terms of keeping the banner, you know, Lion of Judah banner flying around the four corners of creation. What a joy. So things are coming together slowly but surely, you know, and as I say, the eye, His Majesty has prepared the eye from childhood. And if you haven't seen Sister Cheril's episode on the Lion Voice, you can get the whole time machine experience and go forward to her childhood raising up in America. But she has been uniquely prepared for the work that she's doing right now. And you sit, you know, in a very important seat historically. And, you know, we are elated that you are able to execute your duty, you know, by actually visiting with the different locals, interacting, you know, representing on international stages, bringing forward some of the stature that EWF had, you know, in its exception under its founder, Malaku Bayan. You know,
It's thanks. It's an honor and a privilege.
yes.
I don't take it for granted, and I love the work that's taking place within the Federation, in our locals, in our local committees, and Federation Rising. I did have an interview today on Pan-African TV in Ghana. It will
Yes.
air 7 p.m. on Friday on YouTube. So you'll be able to watch that interview that also delves into this preparation for this role of being the international president of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated.
Well, I'm greatly honored by your presence, regular contributor here. And again, she inspired I to join. I'm a proud member of Local 12, Deuce Payne member, now a member of the Publicity Committee. So, you know, we have pledged free ad space for Local 12 here on the Lion Voice Network. So we will be shortly we'll be working on producing an ad, you know, for whatever we decide internally. But we're committed to holding that space for the works in this time. And big up Blata movements, Ras Nashan, Ras Abib, you know, who are also part of our Rastafari media ecosystem. And you'll be hearing from those brethren. I'll be interviewing those brethren in the future as well. Just highlighting all of the assets that we have as a global family and a global community. So there's no need to fight. There's no need to be petty right now. What it is find your lane, you know, sharpen your sword and see how we can join arm in arm so that we can accomplish this work. And the work right now starts with this economic foundation. We have a spiritual foundation bequeathed by our ancestors. We're solid spiritually, and we don't need to argue about Bobo Shanti. We don't need none of that. We're good. What we need now is to come together to establish this economic foundation. Repatriation require funding. The advocacy require funding. The health centers, the schools, the residential housing. You know, right now we're doing the RMO relief and rise and relief, rebuild and rise plan. and that requires funding. So
yes,
everything right now we want to really encourage that unity of purpose so that we can conquer these economics. And it's not difficult because we have numbers now. We didn't. My elder Ras Iris, who passed this year, said that when he first put on his covenant, he knew every Rastafari in Jamaica, you know, and he lived to see where that number exploded into the millions where he couldn't possibly know. So imagine living that reality where you literally know they used to walk from Kingston to Mobay to each parish to check their brethren and sistren. You know what I mean? They knew where everybody lived around the island. And going from that to, you know, witnessing Rastafari explode across the planet where the Lion of Judah flag flies on every continent. You know what I mean? Imagine having reality. So we are still in our early days as a people, and we still are building on the shoulders of these giants who have come before us. But we started on an economic foundation with Leonard Howell, and we have to return Sankofa
yes,
to that agribusiness foundation, that productive foundation. And I'm going to put a fire on my brethren, as the man them in the community. We got to step up. You know what I mean? Too much fighting, too much petty difference. And, you know what I mean? I love my president, but we can't make the daughters them just make we look silly. You know what I mean? No, we can't. All these beautiful daughters rising up around the world, taking these posts and putting in the work and executing the work. We can't make ourselves look silly, brethren. You know what I mean? Me not join them group there. You know what I mean? That's aside. I don't want to.
You can't look silly. You're doing the work. I see you in the trenches. So grateful for your example that you're setting for, you know, all the brethren and also the youth, and your distinction. I always quote you when I'm talking about the youth, and then the young adults and the mature adults, and then the elders are separate groups with different obligations. So thank you for giving us that language. I also want to highlight that Veterans Initiative 22, who I mentioned earlier today, has partnered with RMO with regards to fundraising efforts for the RMO Triple R plan. So they have agreed to help fundraise. We have Strange for Life Dispensary has agreed to fundraise. Smoking Scholars Dispensary in New York City has agreed to help fundraise. If you have a cannabis dispensary, or you have a Jamaican restaurant, or you have a warehouse, or anything where you're in touch with our culture, please let DejKwasi know that you want to be involved in this fundraising for the RMO's Triple R rebuild effort. It's really important. It doesn't matter what type of business you have. You use a POS system, we may be able to do some type of roundup or other way for you to support. So the money may not even have to come from you directly, but we want to make sure that we're all joined up on these efforts to rebuild Jamaica. So please, if you have a business with a background in the Caribbean or a background in Jamaica, please reach out to Lion Voice Radio so that you can be connected with our leadership in RMO organizing, so that we can make you a certified partner for fundraising.
That is crucial. And as we say that, let me just pull up this video very quickly.
Blessed love, everyone. So tonight we're here packing up some stuff to go into country on behalf of RMO, so the item can always, donate wherever possible.
So this is coming out of pocket. One's putting their funds together.
Lost some
care packages.
So we're just creating some packages for them
of essential goods. So that work has started already. More efforts are on the way. We have ones like Rasimba, Big Baller,
all right,
taking time to bubble sip. And for those who say, boy, him could have make more, look how the pot more full up. Well, guess what? With the people who have not eaten for days when they got those continuous privileges, however many, I can guarantee were very happy. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
They were very happy. So, you know what I mean? And this is what it looks like. Package. I have a lot more footage. I just haven't had a chance to put it together and edit it, but the works are happening.
Yes,
Excursions are going out every strong. Different ones are going out to different places. So definitely family support the Triple R plan. We're gonna have a big announcement shortly. We're doing a webathon that's going to take place February 1st to kick off Black History Month. It's going to be star-studded. We're rallying the global Rastafari family behind this cause. Our goal, 500,000 US dollars. And I want to big up the Coral Garden Benevolent, the Rastafari Coral Garden Benevolent Society. They just hosted a delegation of the RMO in royal style. We have that footage as well. And they produce their bank accounts. We're running all of the funding for this project through the Rastafari Coral Garden Benevolent Society. They are a registered NGO with audited accounts, which they proudly display. They've handled hundreds of millions of dollars for their elder care program. So they are the entity within the RMO that the GoFundMe and all of the funds are being routed through. So, we know that we've had problems with transparency in the past, which is why we chose to go this route as opposed to just producing a new account. They are they have regular audits that they have to pass. You know what I mean? So it's a trusted, and they've been doing it for years. So we're going to be very transparent with this project. The Triple R plan has been drafted. It's been reviewed around the world by different Rastafari brethren and sisters in different organizations, from the UK to the Caribbean to the CRO to the diaspora, have all gotten the plan. This is unprecedented level of collaboration is happening. We've created a media network, collaboration network. MOUs have been signed. Unprecedented levels of cooperation and work are happening right now. So I want everyone to stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed to the platform. Make sure that you are part of the solution. When someone comes to you and they start complaining about what Rastafari now do or them people over there, so I want you to just ask them, what is the solution, brethren, and what are you doing? Ask them two questions there. What is the solution, and how are you contributing to that solution? Long talking right now, we don't want to hear that. And if they don't have answers for these questions, I recommend you separate yourself from these people, because these people are time wasters. We love them, but we don't have it's literally war time, you know what I mean? Gideon boot time. It's not figurative. Nothing is figurative right now. So we have to come together and remember that in a time of crisis, if we are properly situated, it can be a time of prosperity for I and I. You know what I mean? The people in COVID who are selling masks, them sell off, them glad for that. You know what I mean? So even in the worst of crisis and things, if you're properly situated, if we are prepared with our ITAL produce when food shortages happen, we are going to be putting ourselves in the place by being self-reliant, by working together where we can prosper. And then we are in a position to help others, because it's not Rastafari isolating ourselves and hoarding. No, we get the prosperity, the whole community is going to be irie, because that is how we've always been from our inception, from Leonard Howell straight forward to now. So I do give thanks. I want to give you a chance to just give some final words. So it's 1:34 in the morning, and she's still bright and vibrant. This is our international president, spokeswoman for the Crown Council of Ethiopia, cannabis, agriculture, psychedelics attorney. She has so many accolades. Mother of a future NBA star. So we can go in. We can go into all of the all of the acclaim. But as I say, I'm just honored to have her as a sister, as someone I can call and consult. We got the information we needed tonight about the rescheduling of cannabis and what we can do, and how we need to be thinking. So just give us some final words, Sound, to the global Rastafari and Pan-African family.
Yeah, give thanks. You know, as international president of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, I am a humble servant. I serve the people. I serve the people in accordance with our constitution and bylaws given to us by His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I. We're on a unification movement. We're seeing it in Rastafari. We're seeing it throughout the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, and it's an honor to be a part of it and to be a part of this story. I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to my brother, Ras Tafari, for all that he does for our community. As mentioned, he's a member of Local Charter 12 with EWF. In addition to, leading this coalition of Rastafari attorneys, the Haile Selassie Foundation for Law and Society, in addition to his work with ARC, the Association of Rastafari Creatives, RMO, the list goes on and on. We all have a place in service. And I want to encourage ones who are watching, continue to watch. That's the most basic level, is to continue to be educated, informed, and point people to this platform. Beyond that, continue to contribute to this platform by making donations to the Lions Voice Network. Beyond that, get involved. I'm not saying you have to be a part of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, but know that you're welcomed and we desire for you to be a part of us. So look at the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. Our website is www.tewfinc.org. That's tewfinc.org. And I'm very accessible. I talk to members all the time. This is His Imperial Majesty's work. And we don't take it for granted, and we don't take it as a plaything. This is work, this is business. This is the business of His Imperial Majesty. So I look forward to seeing you in one of the cities that I visit, and I look forward to working with you as we move forward this movement for the Black people of the world. Give thanks, Rastafari.
Rastafari. So family, there you have it. International president is here. We're going to let her get some rest. We are going to make sure we get another interview when she returns from Ghana, so we can do a deep dive on this trip, and you can share some pictures with us and different things, and we can go through a whole presentation. Maybe you can make a PowerPoint for us, or something like that we can go through, because I think it's important, the work that you're doing, and that the family, because the next time she comes on here, we want to be able to give a financial contribution from our audience. I told you my vision, 58,000 and counting. We want our audience, everyone supposed to can give $10 to EWF or to Sister Scheril organization of our choosing, and she's supposed to look in our account and see it raised by thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's what we're building here on this platform, not just the education, but we want action. We want all of us to be actionists, where we are putting in action, and the movement of capital. I'm very passionate because we've never had this before in the history of mankind, where we can aggregate capital from around the world and direct it, on a centralized person, and do it legally as well, because Marcus Garvey got in trouble for trying to aggregate capital in that time. We now have the means to do it legally through these platforms, and it's traceable, so it takes off some of the heat from the person receiving all of this money. You know what I mean? So we've never had this, family, and I think we take for granted our power. What $5 can do, what $10 can do, what we would spend on a bag of chips down the road. I mean, you can't even get a meal in America for under $15 now. You know what I mean? So for the price of a meal, I mean, we could be changing lives every strong on this platform. And that's what I want to see. And that's what we're building. So even if the next time she comes and only 10 people participate, let's start by doing, and let's even tonight, for those who watch, where can people send money to support what the eye is doing? Please. And we'll put the description.
I appreciate that. Yes, you can make a donation on the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated page. That's TEWFINC.org. Hit the donate link, and we have Stripe. We recently got Stripe to make it easier for people to make their donations. So we welcome all
So I want to hear in the next meeting. All right. Say that one more time. You froze on the last thing you said.
Oh, sorry. I said, yes, thank you so much, Raskwasi, DejazmatchKwasi. I said you can make a donation on the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated page. Go to www.tewfinc.org and hit donate, and you can donate to us. We recently added Stripe as a payment processor, so to make it more accessible to people all around the world. And we use our funds for our operations as well as our relief efforts as well. And we're happy to be aligned with RMO and Lion Talk Radio. Lion Voice Radio for Lion Voice Network for all the efforts that you're making with this relief effort. It's very admirable and lines up with His Imperial Majesty and his example.
Yes. So there you have it, family. We are bringing cutting edge news to you, not just history, not just prophecy, but what is happening in the news. We are serving our role. Rastafari, independent, non-aligned media is rising, and we won't stop. Why? Because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is the Lion's Voice.
Greetings, Rastafari, Hail Emperor King Selassie the First, the Perfect Balance Empress Menin. This is first man for Rastafari Indigenous Village, recognizing, accepting, promoting Lion Voice. Yes, the voice of Rastafari, speaking about Rastafari, educating Rastafari, preserving, protecting Rastafari. Give thanks.
Aye, Rastafari, mighty.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega, representing for all lions and lionesses. With the Lion's Voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the Lion's Voice, Rastafari.
Blessed love, this is Rashila representing for the Lion's Voice. Seeing? Yeah, man. Keep it locked right there, sir. On to Zion we go. Lion Voice don't move slow, no. Rastafari rules and reigns, and we're going where the blessings flow. Keep it locked right there, sir. Saying? Rashila said that. Lion's Voice.
I'm Nana Farika. The time has come for the lioness to tell her story from her viewpoint and tell the world who Queen Omega is. This is the Lion's Voice.
Greetings, this is Junior Morgan of Bob Marley and the Wailers. The time has come for the lion to tell his story. And we have here the Lion Voice. So listen in and get nourishment for the stomach and for the head cup. Jah, Rastafari.
Give thanks.
Give thanks and praise every time.
Great honor, great honor.
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the Lion's Voice.
It's AWTITUDE representing for Lion's Voice. Yes, massive. This is the time for I and I, the lion them to tell I and I story, our story. Yes, and we reign and rule like this. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, I reign and rule. You can't take the lion vibes, people. If you no fool, cause we no Selassie reign and rule. Reign and rule. Selassie, I reign and rule. Queen Omega drop them in the fire, pull from them, no Queen Omega, she reign and rule. Royal Kushite, ancient essence, Emperor Selassie in a majestical presence, flash of all sevens, projecting through I and I events. We sing a song for the king, we bring joy and blessing and understanding, yeah. We hear Jah every day, reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, reign and rule. Yes, I lion vibes, Selassie, reign and rule. Attitude say that Boondocks, Black Organization of Global Diplomats optimizing expressions to the world. Till the world, till the end.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.